Josh, I want to start just by asking how it was that you kind of got involved in this project. What's kind of the story of you being cast in London Calling, and what made you most excited to play this character, Tommy Ward?
Well, he'd been talking about this script for a few years. He kept talking about this movie, London Calling, and I thought that he was going to go make it with somebody else. And then finally, when it became real, he came to me and sent it to me. And I was like, dude, I got to play Tommy. This is perfect. I am a guy who's just past his prime. I'm a guy whose eyesight isn't what it used to be. I'm a terrible shot. And I'm also a terrible father.
Wow.
So I was perfect. I was perfect.
There you go. Checks out. I loved the bald look at the beginning too. I thought that was that was great.
Well, honestly, that's what I love working with this guy is that he's open to ideas. I said, I want to be Jason Statham at the opening of this movie. I want to be bald, like this bald badass killer, and I want an earring. No, no, no. Can't be bald. You can't have an earring. I was like, please, Dad, please. And then suddenly, he caved, and it is a good sort of departure, as we move to a year later. So
Totally, totally. I'm gonna kind of jumps into what I wanted to ask you, Alan, is I know you guys have worked together back on Bandit, which was released in 2022, I think. What made you feel like Josh would be a good part for this role in London Calling, and how was it kind of being able to work again and play together in this creative space?
Yeah, Bandit was a really, really incredible experience. And I think part of that was getting to meet Josh and work with Josh. And I tell people, he really did make me a better director, and sort of his approach and the way that we worked together and built this trust. And, I always try to involve people in different parts of the process, and really valued his input, and even in the edit, showing him different takes. And so bringing that to London Calling, we already had a shorthand. And I knew that his ability to humanize characters the way that he does and bring this sort of form of levity was what I was looking for in this film, because a lot of action movies don't have heart. They don't have this anchor point that grounds it. And I knew that he would embody all of that really well. And like he said, he's a terrible father. His eyesight's very poor. And I was like, just play yourself.
this part is custom made for me.
Just play yourself.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you mentioned the heart, which is something I kind of wanted to ask about next. Because, Josh, you have a lot of scenes with Jeremy Ray Taylor, and I love the chemistry between you guys. I mean, you can both be really funny, but like when you get to the end of the movie, like there's a genuine connection there. Like it's real. And I loved how that kind of like was built. So, can you just tell me a little bit kind of about working with him as a screen partner and how you kind of developed that rapport between your two characters to build that kind of chemistry?
Well, Jeremy's an easy guy to love. He's just I really grew to really care for this kid. He's not really he's a young man, but he's really thoughtful, really talented, totally committed. And I think that, it was one of those things where we both knew what our job was in this movie. And I got to be this, grumpy curmudgeon of a guy who just hasn't measured up in life. And he got to be this guy who's just sort of never really measured up in his father's eyes. And we're both sort of failures in our own minds. And and I really grew to like um really like this kid, and such respect for his work too. And so we worked hard on every scene. We never took anything for granted, and just grinded out, you know, every every scenario as best we could with Alan to try
Sure.
to find the both the humanity of it, but also the humor.
Yeah, totally. And Alan, I think that's kind of one of the things I liked most about this movie is how you kind of approach Jeremy's character because like he is a teenage kid, he's into LARPing, he gets nervous around girls, but like there's never any judgment about that except from like his father, but that's played for laughs as part of the dramatic arc. I loved how it was just like straightforward, like not punching down, this is who he is, and like we can love and respect that. So how important was it that for you kind of when you were coming up with this character to make sure that like his hobbies were like cool and not just like let's make fun of it.
That's a great question, by the way, and that was something that was incredibly important to me. Look, I'm a gamer. I've never LARPed, and I wouldn't say I was socially awkward, but I know a lot of people who are and who I grew up with that were. And I
Mhm.
think that there's this incredible community of people like that around the world who also bond over these kinds of hobbies that are frowned upon by their fathers, or the women in high school that they're trying to go after who think that, you know, they might be too cool for them. So I never really wanted to, as you said, punch down on that. I think it was something that I believed was relatable to a large, you know, demographic of people that might watch the movie. Same as how Josh's character, being sort of a guy who's losing his edge and he's over the hill a little bit, and, you know, his eyesight's going, he's not in his prime anymore. I think those are the things that make movies like this more enjoyable, and people can get invested in that.
Sure.
And I
Totally.
LARP for a living, so that was easy for me.
He brought his own costume.